Today is Friday, June 22nd, and I am joined by my colleagues, Council Members Joe Buscaino and Council Member Dennis P. Zine. Buscaino, otherwise known as Steve, for those of us that know him personally. What's your new posse? What are you calling the team now?
What are you talking about?
The one where you're cracking down on
Illegal vendors?
no, not the illegal vendors, the folks that are using the handicap placards.
Yeah.
It's the handicap posse?
Yeah. We haven't come up with
You haven't come up with a name yet? Okay.
We're working on that.
So, all right, we're going to jump right into this morning. And we're going to start off, Mr. Clerk, with item 6.
Would that be the special item for the,
Oh, actually, before we start off, I'm sorry with that. We've got public speaker cards. And since we do have a quorum of the committee, we'll go ahead and take those first. Mr. Jim Quiston, we've got public comment card, and then we've got another card filled out from you on item 2. If any members of the public wish to speak and would like to fill out a public comment card, please do so now, whereas we will be closing public comment immediately thereafter. Good morning.
Morning. Jim McQuiston. I came down this morning because of item 2, but I did want to say I did write down some equipment because there was a 3-second picture of a 18-story building collapsing completely, and it's on Canoga Avenue, from an earthquake that's going to occur in Parkfield, which is 180 miles away. And it scares the life out of me, and I haven't shown it to public safety, and since you had it on, I brought my equipment down to set it up, but it's not set up right now because it would take the committee to agree to it. But I'm trying to make it on CD, and my CD maker would not record it. So eventually you will get it, if not today. But
That's gonna be
it's very, very frightening, and it's a public safety item.
You said that's going to be for item 2?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And what we'll do then is, since you couldn't get your CD working, we'll go ahead and continue item 2 for 30 days. That's okay. So you can come back and show us that. I think it's critically important to hear your input.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll continue that item for 30 days. I'm in a generous mood this morning.
You are.
All right.
You're late, too.
I was actually on time this morning, and but we did start the committee late. But I was on time this morning, and we did take a tour of the new part of the district of West Hills and made sure that our community policing was fully enforced, and in fact did a drive-by for X-Patrol around Councilman Dennis Zine's house.
I got your business.
You got my business card on your door. All right. With that, actually, we've got some, why don't we go ahead and take the consent items as well, get those out of the way. I was going to ask for, we've got item 2 being continued, item 3 to go on consent, and we've got a technical correction and change, I believe. Mr. White?
yes, sir, we have an amendment from the CAO for item 3.
Okay. And you have that as part of the record?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Does that need to be distributed to the committee, or is it just filed in the record?
Just filed the record, but the CAO is here if you want to ask any questions about the amendment.
I don't have any questions unless my colleagues do.
No.
Technical correction. We'll go ahead and consent on that then as well. Number 4, I proposed for consent. Number 5 will also be proposed for consent unless my colleagues have any questions on those items.
Council members, item 4, as on the agenda states, a communication from the mayor. Since the publication of the agenda, we've received a CAO report.
Correct.
You wish to approve the CAO report for number 4.
Yes, then that'll be the order of the business of this committee. I am joined now by Ms. Perry as well. So we did move some items, Ms. Perry, on committee. I'm going to go ahead and open those back up. We had a consent calendar, but I wanted to see if you had any particular items. The one that I held for you, though, was item 1, which I did not come to yet. I held that because I know you had some questions and dialogue on that, so I held that. The other ones on consent were item 2 was continued for 30 days. Item 3, 4, and 5 with the reports and the technical amendments were approved on consent. We'll go ahead and add her to that as well. And then I'll hold 1 and go ahead and jump to the special meeting if we
Special-
could adjourn the regular scheduled meeting, and we'll go ahead and open up the special meeting, and then we'll come back to the regular scheduled meeting, since we have...
Special item 1, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Andrea Sheridan Orden to the Board of Police Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing very well and very, very pleased to be here. Some of you, I, of course, have known for years and years. And
Make it sound as we're old.
I'd have to be the same age, wouldn't I? So, and others not as long, but I'm here with the hopes of being confirmed to finish the term of Alan Scobin, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Terrific. Thank you. I'll go ahead and open up to my colleagues first.
Well, I don't have a lot of questions. I've known Ms. Orden for many, many years, and she has an extraordinary legal background and an incredible background in being engaged fully and completely in the civic life of this city. And the fact that you're still willing to serve in this capacity with everything else that you do, I'm enormously grateful, and I'm looking forward to hearing your voice and your perspective on the commission and moving forward.
Well, I really appreciate that very much. And when I did leave county council, I did say that I didn't anticipate to being 24/7 any longer, but I certainly hope to continue to work with the city and the county and to serve the city that I love so much.
Well, I will say that your extensive background from the state of California Deputy Attorney General to Assistant District Attorney, L.A. County, you've done everything except the City Attorney's Office.
That's exactly right.
You have. You've done it all. And then County Council, representing the great county of Los Angeles. So I know when you were on the commission, you were a delight to work with. You did wonderful work there. You worked well with the other commissioners, with the Inspector General. I mean, it was a great fit. So I was very pleased to see that the mayor was taking someone who can take off running and not have to have the learning curve. And Mr. Scobin, I spoke to recently, has high regards for you. I'm now on the Fire Commission. So I think it's a wonderful fit. You don't have to learn anything. All they have to do is put your name tag back up and you're back in business. So no, it's so great. You've already proven yourself, so we don't have to grill you now.
I appreciate it very much.
Great, thank you. And I too, I've had the pleasure of not working with you yet, but certainly knowing you, and you bring a wealth of experience, which is needed. This commission, and I applaud you for stepping up to this, is not like any other, where it's not. First of all, it's paid nothing, and which is like most of them, except that the time commitment is excruciating and demanding. It's full time and beyond. In fact, in the shoes that you're filling, and I know you're coming back, you're not a new appointment, but coming back to complete and work on a lot of initiatives you have worked on in the past, and I appreciate that. Mr. Scobin was very unique as a commissioner as well, where he actually went to roll calls at all hours, met out with officers in the field at all hours, was at the scene of incidents, major incidents in the city, at all hours as well, which is over and above what we would ever expect. And I know you've done so much with the city and the county, and so we look forward to having you on board, and wanted to see if you had any questions of us.
I really do not, but I do look forward to working with you and coming to you for assistance along with my fellow commissioners and with our superb chief of police. It's going to be a very difficult time for everyone in the city. I know that, and particularly for the department. And so I just looking forward to continuing this relationship so that we can work together to assure that the police department continues in its role as our protector and within the bounds of constitutional policing. And I'm very excited to be a part of it. I do share with you, Alan Scobin's shoes are very large in that regard. He was an extraordinary commissioner with always with the police department first in his mind. And I did go to those early morning and later evening roll calls, but rolling out at 2 a.m. Was certainly above and beyond the call of duty for most of us.
And let me just add, it's really important for the young officers to see the commissioner. I know if I stop by a police station, the city councilman, we may not think it's a big deal, but to them, it shows that someone cares. So anytime you can spend time with them, the officers that are there in the trenches and oftentimes wonder, does anybody care what we do or support us? It really means a tremendous amount to them.
No,
So,
I absolutely agree. I do remember my first couple of roll calls, though, and then I would say, and any questions?
uh-oh.
It's very hard to get questions, but by the end, I did.
Well, thank you. One thing that I would like to just add to that is one of the things that I think needs to be looked at from the commission, and it hasn't lately, and is a lot of the payouts and a lot of the lawsuits that we've been paying out in the city. Oftentimes what we'll do, I won't even say often, almost every single time, virtually every discussion we have in closed session on the budget committee is after a lawsuit or during a lawsuit and during a settlement, the question will always come up. And the question will always be, well, what happened? And this is every department, the police department being one of the largest, because it's one of our largest departments, obviously, and we have people going out there going code 3, and so they're more prone to accidents and things happening. But oftentimes we'll ask, what happened to the officer? What happened to the personnel, the person that was responsible? And the answer, the majority of the time, will be either they went through some driver's training, remediation, or something out like that. And in fact, we just had a recent case, without getting into too much detail because it was in closed session, where nothing had happened at all, and it was determined that it was something that was preventable and out of policy, as an example. And nothing happened, yet it was preventable and out of policy. And then we find out that that officer is back behind a wheel, driving a car, and putting the city and the taxpayers and lives at risk, financially and physically. And then, again, it's not just the police department. We had an accident just yesterday where a trash truck driver hit a motorcycle. It hasn't been determined yet what the cause of the accident was, so it would be too premature to say. But we had an incident 2 weeks ago where a trash truck driver made an illegal right-hand turn. The one yesterday was in my district. The one 2 weeks ago was Mr. Zine's district. Killed an individual, a pedestrian. Trash truck versus a pedestrian. The pedestrian never wins. And the pedestrian legally stepped off the curb to cross the street, and the driver made an illegal right turn without stopping and didn't see the pedestrian step off the curb. And unfortunately, it was a fatality. Oftentimes what we'll find out 2, 3, 4 years later, after the lawsuit or during settlement, is that the trash truck driver might have gone through some remediation at best and is back behind the wheel of the trash truck. And I can't tell you how frustrating it is. And we constantly ask the question, why? Why is it that these folks are back behind the wheel or in a position or worse yet, have been promoted with nothing really happening?
Yeah.
And that's an issue that nobody seems to be dealing with. And as a commissioner who deals with one of the biggest and most important departments of the city, is this something that you could take on or look at?
I will certainly take it on and look at it, and I do believe from my preliminary conversations with some of the members of the commission that it is an issue of concern to them. There are two sides to the risk management issue. One is for the leadership to provide the tools to the officers or to the sanitation workers or whatever employee to be able to do his or her job with skill and care. And that has to be done all the time. It's not just one training. So the risk management is on the front end, but it is also on the back end. There has to be accountability for failures that are true failures. There will be times where there are failures and very bad things happen, but the person truly is not accountable. But when that person is at fault, and there should be accountability. So it is certainly something that I will be looking at, and I feel confident that our fellow commissioners will be too.
Great. Thank you very much. Without any other questions or comments from the committee, congratulations.
Well, thank
It'll
you
be
very
unanimous out of this committee unless stated otherwise, and we look forward to seeing you at council.
I look forward to it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Welcome back home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That leaves us with item 1. Mr. White?
Item 1 on the regular agenda, motion Perry Rosendahl, Director of the Harbor Department, the participation of the Department of Recreation and Parks, the Fire and Emergency Preparedness Departments, and the Bureau of Sanitation to report relative to the protocol for responding to tsunami debris washing up along the Los Angeles coastline, including such areas as Venice Beach, Hyperion Treatment Facility, and the Port of Los Angeles.
Great. Thank you. And do we have anybody from the Harbor Department to speak on this item? Well, I'm going to defer this to Ms. Perry, since she's the maker of this motion, and I held the item knowing that she was on her way this morning, and so I will defer it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We all are familiar with the tsunami in Japan, and it's already been documented that a huge dock washed up on the shores of Oregon a couple of weeks ago, and then this past week, tsunami debris washed up on the beach of Ocean Shores in the state of Washington. The tsunami swept an estimated 5 million tons of debris into the Pacific Ocean. Now, scientists from Japan have estimated that about 70% of that debris sank right away, which leaves about 1.5 million tons still floating around. And as we are down the coast, or south of the destinations that have already been hit by some of this debris, I thought it might be appropriate to begin to develop our awareness and some protocols to handle an issue in the event that it may happen to us for reasons of environmental and public health. Some of those concerns are a threat of marine species that might throw off the balance of our local ecosystems and create a biological invasion of new life. And of course, the overriding concern of radioactive debris that could wash up on our shores. Now, there will be a continuous flow of tsunami debris, I'm sure, over the next few years. So I wanted us as a city to be proactive in planning and to create a protocol of what we would do to handle this. And my motion directs the Harbor Department, with the participation of the Department of Recreation and Parks, the Fire Department, and Emergency Preparedness and the Bureau of Sanitation, to report on their protocol for responding to tsunami debris that may wash up along the Los Angeles coastline, including such areas as Venice Beach, the Hyperion Treatment Facility, and of course San Pedro and the Port of Los Angeles. And I look forward to a report back in this committee. Thank you.
Great, thank you. With that, I do look forward to the report back, and I would like to include, as Ms. Perry stated, the county beaches and harbors, the county health and coastal commission, if they have any input into that as well. I think it would be helpful. If there's nobody here from the department, we'll just go ahead then and instruct those departments. And since it's proprietary departments, we can't instruct but request, and so we'll request the departments to forward information in the report, and wanted to ask Ms. Perry what would be feasible in terms of a time period you'd like to see the reports back in.
If they could do it in 60 days, that'd be great.
60 days. So we'll go ahead, and we've got Mr. Zine on the queue.
A question on this: since the coastline extends to other jurisdictions, other counties, are we checking to see if anyone else along the Pacific is doing anything in working cooperation, Ms. Perry?
That would be part of the report.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why we included the county as well, and so the county should include
Well, there's
that.
like Ventura County, there's Orange, I mean, that coastline is massive, and when you hear of the potential, which I think obviously has not been paid as much attention to as it needs to be, since it's now a year later, that maybe other folks working in cooperation, because if it hits Santa Monica Beach versus Pacific Palisades versus down in San Diego, I mean, the entire coastline.
And the Coastal Commission should be able to, we asked, and Ms. Perry asked for them to weigh in on the report as well, and
All
they should be able, the
inclusive.
Coastal Commission should be able to address those. That's a good point. Thank you.
I think, thanks, Ms. Parrott, for bringing this forward here. I think notification, especially if we have eyesight of debris coming towards us, and I'm sure the report will indicate how we will be notified and the timeline that will be in place when the debris, if we see it off the coastline, gets closer to either San Pedro or Venice Beach. So I just want to make sure that that's in the report as well.
Right, we'll go ahead and make those additions, and I too want to thank Ms. Perry for bringing this forward. This is critically important, where we're all impacted, and not knowing exactly what the plan is for cleanup or figuring out what type of contamination the debris will bring to the beaches, and they impact, and if you look at one of our largest revenue streams here in the city of Los Angeles, it's tourism, and tourism because of the weather, and the weather because of the beaches, and we want to make sure that we provide a safe and healthy environment as well. So I do appreciate that. So we'll go ahead and pass that right as well as amended.
Okay.
And one additional thing, I believe that concludes the agenda items.
Yes, it does.
And concludes public comment. One thing I'm going to add before we adjourn is that on the next Public Safety Committee, we're going to go ahead and schedule, since there's not a motion for it, we'll go ahead and schedule, it'll be an open item, an oral report from the fire department for an update on fire stat and response times. And we'll just have an oral presentation and report from the fire department. And the plan will be to have that on the next scheduled agenda, as well as all future agendas, at least for the time being, until we get our arms around and updates on exactly what's happening with response times and fire stat.
Very good.
Great.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Mr. Chair, just a reminder that we're going to hold a special Public Safety Committee meeting in San Pedro to address above-ground storage tank facilities near the port, in and around the Port of Los Angeles. That's going to be held Wednesday, June 27th, 6 p.m. at Taper Avenue Elementary School. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for facilitating this special Public Safety Committee meeting in San Pedro.
And Mr. Buscaino will be chairing that committee, actually, and facilitating that committee, as it is his motion as well. That will adjourn this meeting, and have a safe weekend, and we'll see you in council. Thank you.